Welcome to Portal Stormer. I'm Kelly Proudfoot, and in this video I'm kind of providing an update to a prior episode that I posted on my Hedgewitch Herbarium podcast, which was called Weathering the Storm, Staying Sane and Safe in Turbulent Times. And I just wanted to do another video and update because things are a lot worse, and I can't believe that, but I'm doing this to express my thoughts on current affairs, especially in the US regarding the war on women and those who are often targeted by the right, which is pretty much anyone not in the 1% and the wannabes who worship the 1%. And these are dire times for many, and for the rest of us, the trickle-down effects of asshole politics and religious persecution continues to darken our doorsteps. And to start with, the decision of the reversal of Roe versus Wade, it's triggered many of us who thought or who fought for bodily autonomy and the protection of women's rights. And to think that the powers that be decreed that an unborn child is more valuable or more important than the woman carrying the baby is an abomination inflicted on all human beings. These so-called leaders are telling us that even a child who has been raped must carry the baby to term regardless of their emotional and physical state. So it's important to remind ourselves that this outrageous decision will have a ripple effect that goes beyond religious and political spheres. However, there is hope that the wrongs will be righted eventually. But keep in mind that there's a lot going on behind the scenes when it comes to political agendas that are intertwined with religious bigotry. In particular, since I myself am a woman, I've been annoyed my whole life with the way we assign roles to people based on gender, race, religion and other supposed mantles of society. And even though I was raised by an alcoholic, narcissistic mother, I was fortunate enough to have a healthy dose of feminism coming at me from different people growing up. And some, especially men, might balk at that idea of being taught feminism, since being a human first and foremost is rarely taken into consideration. But those lessons kept me safe from all the predators that tried to get at me, and I'm thankful that I gleaned values from the bright spots in my childhood, which have consolidated in me to not only continue to understand my strength and my worth, but to help others and stand by them in solidarity when the monsters attack. Since a certain orange bastard entered politics, the cockroaches have been flushed out for all of us to see, which is great in one way, so we can see the enemy in broad daylight, but in another way we've had to endure these cockroaches and their bullshit rhetoric. Some of these cockroaches are men who are obviously wounded by whatever happened to them in childhood, so they project and inflict their pain on others, especially women and children, who are easy targets when they've been primed since birth to believe that women are the weaker sex and must bow down to their masculine head of the household. I don't know how many videos and thumbnails of videos I chose not to watch that I've seen where supposed alpha males are setting the record straight and falling back on outmoded, archaic crap that conveniently serves them and belittles women and also puts children in danger. But before I go on, let me say that I understand perfectly well that women can be just as bad and sometimes worse than men who terrorise their families. I'd wager that a lot of these cockroaches, and I know that's mean to call them cockroaches, but I'm talking about a specific type of evil person, probably had either a weak mother who allowed the men in the house to treat her badly, parents who gave in to their every whim, or a savage mother who abused them or neglected them. And a lot of these types of men love to go on and on about how women are weak and men are strong, projecting that women have to toe the line to keep up that bullshit facade, without realising that the very fact they're compelled to project in that way shows how their balls haven't dropped yet, meaning they are not yet grown men, but weak boys who'd rather gaslight women into believing that men are stronger in order to keep them under the thumb. And in general, society relies on the family unit to keep pumping out babies who become consumers too, but the propagation of the species is important until the planet is overrun and dying due to the degradation of the earth, the poisoning of the water table, the abuse of animals, and the continuous stream of human damage. We are supposed to be evolving, which means becoming enlightened, creating a better world for our children to inherit, and learning from past mistakes. To me, the most important thing to remember when dealing with others, no matter their station, their gender, their race, etc., is that first and foremost, we are all human. And we are animals, and yes, when it comes to procreation, men and women are different, but we are still human. And that should be the equality we're fighting for. Men who say that women are weaker have a vested interest in that being true. And yes, some men are stronger, but some women are stronger. It depends on the human. A truly strong man doesn't need to project about it all the time. A truly strong man without the cockroach mentality enjoys strong women and does not feel threatened by them, which is often the reason these cockroaches project. A truly strong man without the cockroach mentality understands that children are out of bounds, not that he would ever consider crossing that line. He is excited by grown, strong, intelligent and even independent women and doesn't need to hunt for young victims in order to play out the "I'm a strong man" routine, or to satiate dark desires that belong in their head if they have to be stored anywhere. I've been people watching since I was a little kid, and the story is always the same. We project what we fear. Some men can't handle growing up and being responsible, so their wife becomes the second mother. She's usually the type who has been hooked into the lie that she has a subservient role to play and that she has to take it, but she'll even stand up for the cockroach if he breaks the law or hurts her, or even the children. Whether you want to call it Stockholm Syndrome or fear, the bottom line remains that narcissists will always attract weaker people to them, so they have a ready-made punching bag to work out their frustrations and to use and throw away like a tissue. The trick is to realise that it matters not who is stronger or weaker. Strength and weakness have a multitude of variables no matter what gender. It's how we complement each other, no matter what gender, and how we work together as a family unit. All the rest is window dressing and, or worse, control methods to keep the status quo. Having said all that, let me say this. I was on Pinterest a few years ago and I saw a post someone uploaded about how men shouldn't raise their voices because they don't realise how scary they are. This infuriated me because the poster was obviously projecting due to whatever trauma they'd gone through in their life, and I couldn't help but respond. I mentioned my mother, who, as I said before, was an alcoholic narcissist, and how her booming voice in the middle of the night could almost raise the dead. The fear that voice inspired in me took a long time to weed out, and her attacks on the men in her life made them feel the same way. When I was growing up in Australia in the 80s, there was a refuge for battered men just around the corner from home. And back then, some of the older men in our circle would laugh about it, but I felt that it was a righteous thing and a great thing for the community, because if there were others out there at the mercy of a horrible woman, having somewhere to go was awesome, especially in that day and age. So automatically, men are stronger. Strength is about so much more than how much you can bench press. And if we're going to be stupid and split hairs to prove a ridiculous point, let's say that women are stronger because they endure periods for the majority of their lives. They can grow babies in their bodies and then go through the arduous birth, which men would use as a major flex if they could do it. And as a side note, there's a lot of us who believe that at its roots or base, that the hatred that men project on women is due to their jealousy over the fact that women create life. I mean, of course, men are involved in that too, but what's the point of all that anyway? I mean, narcissists, rogue capitalists, psychopaths and sociopaths have a vested interest in controlling and stealing from others, which is one of the major thorns in humanity's side since time began. I've had the privilege of spending a lot of time around all kinds of people from all kinds of walks of life, and I've seen countless non-traditional families raising beautiful humans, and I've also seen countless traditional families projecting their generational trauma on unsuspecting victims. Of course, we can't just flick a switch and have everyone singing Kumbaya, but striving towards evolution as decent human beings who care about the earth and its inhabitants is surely the #1 goal, regardless as to whether you're a parent, an atheist, a gay person from another country, and all the other variables. We are human first and foremost. We have a planet that needs our attention. We have children being hurt at the hands of monsters, whether they lurk in churches, schools, or in our own homes. Talking about the roles of people based on their gender, their looks, their station in life, or other irrelevant criteria is so obviously and pathetically human. What God would bother themselves with the petty foolishness that humans continue to beat the drum for when it has nothing to do with true spirituality, without the religious, human-created dogma. History has proven that humans are their own worst enemy, but by all means, let's waste the rest of the finite time we have here on this planet with arguing about who is the head of the household and why the breakdown of the family has anything to do with women deciding not to have children, or women deciding to step into their power and not allowing men to drag them down, or worse. That mentality keeps us in the downward spiral we find ourselves in now. Politics corrupted by the cult of personality and money parading as power. Wasting our time on petty crap while the world is burning. Turning a blind eye to abuse, true corruption and the decimation of the earth. In the end, humans will continue in this vein until the majority becomes the righteous few, but I fear that it's always going to be us and them until we fall all together one day, or with a loud bang or a drawn-out whimper. If nothing else, in our own little cocoons or corners of the world, we need to stay strong and protect ourselves. We need to stop suffering fools gladly, and for those of us who are the minority, we need to stop believing the lies that are meant to keep us down. We need to learn how to deal with narcissists and take the oxygen from the room. Don't engage if you're easily triggered, but protect yourself in any case. Strive for altruism in truth and actual reality, not the projected reality others try to impose on you. Understand that living your life as a lie is a waste of your life. We don't want to get to our deathbeds regretting how we lived our lives just to appease others, or going through unnecessary sacrifices and enduring abuse just because mummy did it. Daddy said I'll go to hell if I don't, or any of the other smoke and mirrors that these cockroaches use to keep us manageable. Once you know the truth, it's hard to go back to the dungeon. But anyway, I'll finish this rant now. Just thought I'd put this out there, and take care of yourselves.